Well, I had a very lucky donation to my channel and to my little air rifle collection. These three air rifles were presented to me just the other day by the same chap who gave me the other rifles that I've restored on my channel, and he said if I could do anything with these, then I was more than welcome to have them, and I'm very pleased to have them. So what we have here is, on the bottom, this one, that's a Webley Junior. Again, that's a boy's rifle, really. Then we have a Milbro Model 16, which is also a boy's rifle. And most interesting for me, anyway, out of this lot, is the one at the top. This is a Harrington GAT Air Rifle, and just works on exactly the same principle as GAT pistols, but obviously it's a rifle, so that's unusual. Now in this video we're going to be concentrating on the GAT, the Harrington GAT. Right, the Harrington GAT Air Rifle. Now, what I've been able to find out about these, they were produced from the early 1960s to the early 1980s. There were a lot of them made. They were a very cheap air rifle, and they were apparently used a lot in fairgrounds. That's a really bad one I've managed to find out about them, but they work on exactly the same principle as the GAT pistols. And the GAT pistols, for those of you who don't know, simply they have a sleeve that extends out the front of the barrel shroud. You push this in, this compresses the spring, and then it locks onto the trigger sear. And then when you fire the gun, the entire barrel shoots forward out of the pistol. It's basically how they work. The rifle works on exactly the same principle. It just has a longer sleeve and probably a longer spring as well. But other than that, it's exactly the same. Now this one doesn't work. Basically what's happened, and I'll show you this in close up in a minute, the sleeve that compresses the spring, it's been pushed in and compressed and it's stuck. It's basically, the spring is under compression and it's stuck in the barrel outer. So we've got to try and free that off, but they come apart quite easily. I'll show you how it comes apart in a minute, but I'll turn it around so you can have a look at the other side. So this is the other side, obviously very similar to the front side, but there is a safety on this. I don't think the original ones had, but the later ones had a safety. We'll close in on the pistol grip and the trigger. You can see the safety here. That's in the fire position, and then you simply move that down to there, like that. That's now in the safe position, and it just locks the trigger. It's very, very, very crude. So let me show you what's wrong with this one. The way this is supposed to work, the way you're seeing it at the moment, is in the cocked firing position, okay, which technically it is, although the trigger is not engaged. Now we're going to go to the front on the muzzle end, and I'll explain what's going on. So this little cup is screwed onto the end of the barrel. Okay, this cup serves two purposes. One, it's something for the spring compression sleeve to butt up against, so that when you push it that way, it pushes the sleeve and the spring. The other function of this cup is for you to be able to insert corks into the end of this cup and fire corks from the gun, which it does very, very well. So now what I'll do is I'll pull the barrel out to the normal position it would be in when it's not cocked. Now what you can see is the barrel, which is this piece here. Okay, that's the barrel, and you shouldn't be able to see this when it's in this position, because the cocking sleeve should cover this, and it's the cocking sleeve that's jammed in the barrel outer here. And that's why it doesn't work. So I'm fairly convinced that the spring is still in there, but that sleeve is stuck, jammed. So we've got to try and free it off somehow, which is not going to be too easy. You can remove the barrel quite easily. You just unscrew this. I've already mainly unscrewed this end cap, and then you can just tap the barrel through and it will pop out the rear end quite nicely, and the foregrip just slides off, and you can take the stock and pistol grip off quite easily as well. The metal part of the gun just lifts out of that. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back when I've got it disassembled, and you can have a look at in close-up about what's actually wrong with it. Here's the GAT air rifle partially disassembled. This is the barrel with the threaded end, and this end here, that is the breech, effectively, you put your pellets into there, and then there is a little peg pin that pushes the pellet in and screws in to block off this end, and it pushes the pellet past these two holes, that one there and that one there. Those holes let the air in to shoot the pellet out of the barrel, and this is effectively the seal, this bit here. Okay, so that's that. The fire control is under here, and I'll take this plate off just so you can have a look. We don't need to disassemble that, it's simply the trigger and the lever. That's it, that's all it is. But what we've got to do is we've got to get what's left of it, which is in here, which is the spring and the sleeve, which are jammed. So that's what we've got to try and get out, which is very difficult to do because there is, like on the Daisy Air Rifles, there's an abutment seal in here which the barrel passes through. So if we wanted to try and get something down here to tap on the spring and the sleeve, you've only got to hold the size of the barrel to get whatever you want the drift in there. So that's not easy. But while we've got it like this, I'll take the cover plate off and you can have a look at the fire control. The cover plate's off, and basically there's your trigger, which operates this lever like that. Pivot very well when it's, let me hold it down like that, and then that proves that's a sear there, and it just moves that out of the notch, which is this notch here. So the sear engages with that notch there, and that's simply how it works. And we don't really need to take any of that apart because it's not going to help us with the problem that we have. Right, so progress with the GAT. I've managed to extract the spring, yay! Which was quite fun. I did that by basically heating up this end of the barrel shroud here. I thought at the time the retaining end of the sleeve that was stuck in there was plastic, so that basically melted, and then the spring, because it was under tension, pushed that out and the spring shot out from the end. So we got the spring out, and it doesn't look to be in bad nick, mainly because it's been fully compressed for years, I would imagine, and couldn't go anywhere, so you know. So that's good, spring's good. The sleeve that compresses the spring, turns out that is plastic, the whole thing. That's what's left of it so far. I've still got quite a lot to remove, but it turned out that a 16mm drill bit is perfect for extracting the plastic that's stuck in there, but obviously I need to go right down to about here, and I don't have a long enough drill bit, so I've got one on order, and hopefully that will solve that problem. So once that's out and I've cleaned the inside of this up, I will have to make a new sleeve. I will probably make it out of metal, brass or aluminium I expect. And basically it's quite simple, the sleeve. I'll just put the spring over the barrel. So the spring is now over the barrel. This is the screws onto the end of the barrel, and the sleeve simply fits over this to a certain extent. Obviously long enough to compress, you know, the sleeve's got to be long enough to compress the spring, and then that obviously when it's fully compressed it's back there like that, but when it's in the out position it will sit somewhere like that. So the sleeve will come probably about halfway, I think, and all I need to do is make sure that it slides over the spring and it's the right diameter to slide easily inside the barrel shroud, and then it has a hole in it so that obviously the threaded part of the barrel, which is here, needs to protrude so it can screw into that. And that's it really, that's all there is to it. So I'm not going to know the exact dimensions lengthwise of the shroud that slides in, but I can experiment with that, so that's not a problem. So yeah, so while I'm waiting for my extra long 16mm drill bit, which has got to go all the way down in there, to arrive, I'm going to clean up the rest of it. The moment of truth. The Harrington GAT Air Rifle is ready to go back together. Now I did say earlier on in the video that I was thinking about making the spring compression sleeve, which is the bit that was stuck in here, out of brass or aluminium. But then once I turned my brain on, I realised I could just as easily make it out of Delrin, and the original sliding tube was plastic. So there we go. Fortunately I had a bit of Delrin bar that was the right size, so that simply slides in there. There's a nice sliding fit in there like that, and that compresses the spring. So let's put it back together. Now I'm going to assemble it dry. I will put a little bit of oil on the seal, but I'm not going to grease the spring or anything because I will almost certainly have to take it apart again, and it's a lot easier to do that if the spring isn't covered in grease. Assembly is fairly straightforward. We put the barrel in from this end, okay, and I've got to line it up with the apartment seal, which can be a bit tricky. There we go, and that just slides in there and all the way through. Now, when the trigger's engaged, it will only go that far, but if I pull the trigger, it will drop right in, and it will come out the other end like that, which is how we had it before, basically. So what we do now is we slide the spring over the barrel. Right. And I'm going to get a rod to make sure that the barrel is fully that way, push it out from the other end. Now there is a little bit of pre-tension on the spring, so what I'm going to do is obviously the sleeve has to slide over both the spring and the barrel, and then it pokes out the end and we put this nut on. I'm going to turn it up the other way to do that, because obviously I've got to hold the barrel in place. So we've got to pull down on this sleeve, and then we've got to juggle it so that the barrel sticks through the top, and then we can put the retaining cork holder on, tighten that up, and then we take the bar out, and there we go. Well, I've just put the stock and pistol grip on. It just pushes into those for the time being, because I wanted to show you this is what it should have looked like when I got it, but it didn't, sadly. So now the question is, does it work? Well, let's see if it'll cock first. Let's see if the mechanical action will work. So I'm going to push it against the wooden bench. That should be enough. Whoa, that sounds good. It's caught on the sear. So when I fire it, there's nothing in it, there's no pellet in it, but when I fire it, the barrel should shoot out with the sleeve. Yes! Oh, it works. I'm going to do that again. Let's see if we can cock this thing again. Yes, it's working. Thank God for that. Yay! Now for the final test to see whether it will actually shoot anything. Now, one part of the Harrington GAT that was actually missing is the breech pin or peg, which is this little thing here. I'll close in on that so you can have a look at it. Now this is essential, because basically what you do, once you've cocked the gun, you put a pellet into the end of the breech end of the barrel, and then you use this. This pushes the pellet down the barrel past the air intake holes, and then it's threaded, the end of the barrel is threaded, and you screw that in, tighten it up, and that stops air coming out the back of the barrel. Now, as I said, this was missing. I'll throw a picture up now so you can see what the original looked like. And this is my poor attempt to produce one. I didn't do any of the fancy turning on the handle, I just knolled it, so hopefully that'll do the job. So I'll show you how it's supposed to work. So the GAT's cocked, and this is the back of the barrel here. The idea is that you put a pellet in there, like that, and then this pin pushes the pellet down the barrel. Oh, it's supposed to. Let me use my right hand. There we go. Right. There we go, like that. Then you screw it in place. That seals up the rear of the barrel, pushes the pellet into the position in the barrel where it needs to be, and so now all we've got to do is see whether it works. Now you probably won't be able to see this, but I'm going to fire at the target. I'm about 5 feet away from it, so I've got the safety on. Let's turn the safety off to fire. It worked! It actually worked! Not particularly powerful, but it did fire the pellet. That is incredible. I am so pleased about that. Well, amazingly, the Harrington GAT Air Rifle actually works. I've reassembled it with the front hand grip, and I put the screws back into the stock pistol grip, and yes, it works. Now I've still got to take it apart and grease the spring, but the compression sleeve, this thing works fine, which is what I was hoping it would do, but you never know. I need to do a little bit of fettling on the breech pin peg. That needs just a little tiny bit taken off of the peg. It's a little bit tight in the back of the barrel at the moment, but no, it actually works. So that'll be it for this one. If I can actually hit anything with it, I'll do a quick video on shooting with it. These things were not supposed to be accurate, but there you go. We'll see what we can do with it. But for now, that's it. As always, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.